So, being inside somebody's background, Tim wants to keep his head even to my head. So if I can go above him or below him, then I'll have a better chance at escaping. He wants to keep me in like this strike zone area in between his hips. So I can either go down and out, or I can go up and out to the side. Right? So the first escape that we're going to work on is the most effective back knot escape. Can be difficult to do depending on where you are, but you have to learn how to keep your body connected to the ground, make it so that this person is carrying your weight and not vice versa, and recognizing where you are within back knot. So this top hand is always the choking hand. Okay? It doesn't really matter what he does with this underhand as far as trying to choke. Okay, so I'm not really too focused on this hand. I want to make sure that he doesn't have proper use of this top hand. Now, one thing I do have to be concerned of is him getting a wrist ride or like a monkey paw grip on my underhand. One way that you can help, it's always going to be a concern. It's always going to be there for him. But one way that you can make it much more difficult for him is not flaring your elbow. If I'm flaring my elbow like this, fighting the grips, it's super easy for him to pop his hand through and start to get wrist control. So I'd like to be pinching my elbow on this side. Okay, so now it's much more difficult for him to bring his arm through. He needs to be able to extend his arm like through this hole and be able to come down on my wrist in order to have an effective grip there. So if I'm here and I'm pinching my elbow, it makes it much harder for him to find the space to bring his arm through, let alone be able to extend it through even if he does get it. So now, a couple of things about being inside somebody's back knot. Right now, Tim can sit here all day. Okay, if he's feeling nothing, I'm carrying all of his weight. So I'm going to use the sides of my feet on the ground, and I'm just going to engage my hips. Now he's feeling a lot more pressure on his hooks, and his legs will start to feel the pressure of my body weight. Okay, so now you always want to. The preference is always to escape to the underhand side, but I can't just tip over like this. Okay, I can't. If his head is in between me and the ground, then he's still on my back. Okay, it's going to be harder for him to finish chokes from this side, but he's still on my back. It's not impossible for him to set up bow and arrow chokes or arm bars from this side, or even still finish a cross collar choke. Okay, so what I want to do is when I'm falling to the side, I need to pummel my head first. So I don't tip my body weight first. I move my head to the side, and then I find the space in between Tim and the ground. My feet are always connected to the mat, and I'm never resting on my hip on the mat. I'm always up off of the mat. Okay. So now I'm gonna rotate my hips and my torso to face the ceiling so that Tim's hook starts to pop off. And I'm finding the space with my hips to start. Now I'm like laying on his knee. In this position, people make a mistake oftentimes where they'll start to slide their hips out to the side like this, but it's super easy for Tim to do two things. One, either retake my back or start looking to swing this hook over and start going for mount, okay? So what I should have done is instead of going out to the side, I want to bring this elbow now in between us and start to grab the pants, and now I'm starting to move up Tim's body, okay? Now it's a much more difficult angle for him to try and swing this leg over and get to mount. If I hit this correctly, I could come up possibly and thread the needle into side control, but that kind of stops happening at the higher levels. So usually when he starts trying to come up to mount, I'm looking to force this leg down inside my half guard and catch my half guard as he comes up to his back knee and you get up into like this type of position. Okay, so